Right now, underneath the feet of tourists taking photos in Wyoming, there is a bomb. It is not made of metal or wires. It is made of magma, and it is large enough to erase the United States from the map in less than 1 hour. Scientists know it as the Yellowstone supervolcano. They tell us it erupts once every 600,000 years. The problem: the last eruption was exactly 640,000 years ago. We are 40,000 years overdue. So, what happens if the clock runs out today? What happens when the ground opens up and unleashes the force of 80,000 nuclear warheads? This isn't a movie. This is the simulation of the day America ends. The event begins not with fire, but with sound. A roar so deafening it ruptures eardrums across 4 states. The shockwave travels faster than the speed of sound itself, creating a sonic boom that shatters glass in Denver, Salt Lake City, and Boise before anyone even realizes what is happening. Office workers look up as windows explode inward. The ground liquefies beneath highways, swallowing cars whole as the asphalt turns to quicksand. Within seconds, a column of superheated ash, rock, and gas blasts 30 miles into the stratosphere, piercing the atmosphere like a bullet fired from the Earth itself. For those inside Yellowstone National Park, there is no pain, only instant vaporization. Bodies are reduced to atoms before nerve endings can register heat. But the immediate kill zone extends far beyond the park boundaries.
A pyroclastic flow, a wall of burning gas and pulverized rock moving at 400 miles per hour, sweeps across Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. Everything in this radius is incinerated. Forests that stood for centuries are reduced to charcoal in seconds. Towns are erased from history. Wildlife, livestock, and people vanish without a trace. There is no evacuation. There is no warning, just silence,
followed by total annihilation. As the first hour passes, the true horror reveals itself. It isn't the lava, it is the ash. Millions of tons of pulverized rock and volcanic glass are pumped into the sky every second. The eruption column is so massive, it creates its own weather system, generating lightning storms inside the ash cloud. The cloud expands outward, driven by the jet stream, moving east at over 100 miles per hour. It darkens the sky over the Dakotas, Nebraska, and Kansas like a solar eclipse that never ends. This is the American breadbasket, the region that produces the corn and wheat that feeds the nation and much of the world. Within 6 hours, the sun is blotted out completely across the Midwest. Streetlights flicker on at noon, but soon they fail too. The ash is heavy and conductive. As it falls, it shorts out electrical transformers, causing cascading failures across the power grid. Substations explode in showers of sparks. The entire U.S. power grid collapses like a house of cards. The lights go out from Chicago to St. Louis, from Minneapolis to Kansas City. The heartland of America is plunged into darkness. By day 2, the ash has reached the East Coast. Washington, D.C. and New York City are covered in a fine gray powder that looks like snow, but cuts like broken glass. If inhaled, the microscopic shards turn to cement in the lungs, causing a condition called silicosis. Hospitals are overwhelmed with respiratory failure cases, but they have no power and no way to resupply. Ventilators sit useless. Oxygen tanks run empty. Doctors perform triage by candlelight, forced to choose who lives and who suffocates. The transportation network of the continent is paralyzed. Jet engines cannot fly through volcanic ash. The particles melt inside the turbines at high temperatures, solidifying into glass that causes the engines to stall and fail mid-flight. All air traffic over North America is grounded immediately. Roads become impassable as cars choke on ash, their air filters clogged within minutes. Highways turn into graveyards of stalled vehicles. The United States is effectively cut off from the rest of the world. No imports, no exports, no escape. The borders are closed not by policy, but by geology.
after, the
Week
food
1
supply ended.
marks the beginning of the collapse of civil order. With the power grid destroyed and supply chains broken, food runs out in the cities within 3 days. The supermarkets are empty. Water treatment plants fail, pumping untreated sewage into the rivers. The taps run dry. Panic turns to violence. Looting begins in New York, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. The National Guard is deployed. But even the might of the U.S. Armed Forces is helpless against the geology of the planet. Tanks cannot drive through 3 feet of ash. Their engines overheat and seize. Helicopters cannot fly in the abrasive air. Their rotors are sandblasted into uselessness. The federal government attempts to coordinate relief from bunkers deep beneath the Appalachian Mountains, but there is nothing to coordinate. The western half of the country is a dead zone. The eastern half is a starving refugee camp, freezing in the dark. FEMA's emergency supplies, designed for hurricanes and earthquakes, are laughably inadequate for a continental catastrophe. America is alone in the dark. But the ash is just the beginning. What comes next makes the explosion look like a mercy. Month 1 brings the silent killer, the volcanic winter. The sulfur dioxide injected into the stratosphere reflects the sun's rays back into space, creating a planetary cooling effect. Global temperatures plummet by 15 degrees Fahrenheit. In the middle of July, it begins to snow in Texas. Frost kills the crops that weren't buried by ash. Wheat fields in Kansas freeze solid. Cornfields in Iowa turn black and brittle. The global food supply chain snaps. Famine isn't just an American problem anymore. It is a human extinction event. Nations that relied on American grain, Egypt, Japan, China, India, face immediate starvation. Wars break out over the remaining food reserves. In the Middle East, nations invade their neighbors for access to grain silos. In Asia, China annexes Taiwan without resistance, taking control of its rice production. Russia moves into Alaska unopposed, claiming the oil fields and fisheries. The geopolitical map is redrawn not by treaties, but by calories. Governments collapse as hungry populations riot. The modern world, built on the assumption of endless growth and stable climates, crumbles under the weight of a gray sky that refuses to clear. The United Nations holds an emergency session, but there is nothing to discuss. There is no aid to send. There is no rescue coming. Humanity is on its own. Year 1. The ash has settled, but the landscape is alien. The United States as a political entity no longer exists. The population has been reduced by 200 million. The survivors have reverted to an agrarian lifestyle, struggling to grow potatoes and root vegetables in the gray, toxic soil. The skyscrapers of Manhattan stand as empty monuments to a fallen civilization, stripped of glass and metal by scavengers. The Statue of Liberty is buried up to her waist in ash. The White House is a burned-out shell. The dollar is worthless. The Constitution is a memory. The superpower that defined the 20th century has been buried under the earth that once sustained it. In Europe, the lights flicker but stay on. In Asia, new powers rise. But in North America, the age of dominance is over. So, what if Yellowstone erupted tomorrow? It serves as a humbling reminder of our fragility. We build our borders, argue over politics, and obsess over our digital lives, forgetting that we live on the thin crust of a violent planet. We are not the masters of the earth. We are merely its tenants. And the landlord can evict us at any moment without an eviction notice. The eruption of Yellowstone is not a question of if, but when. And when the sky turns black and the winter comes, all our modern problems will vanish, replaced by the only problem that has ever truly mattered: survival. So ask yourself, if Yellowstone erupted tomorrow, would you even have time to say goodbye? Or would you just vanish?